another PM. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Deeper than the headlines.
The answers you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
Life comes at you fast.
We did it! You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
That was Keir Starmer on election night in the UK barely 2 years ago in July of 2024. Starmer led the UK's Labour Party to a massive landslide win, capturing more than 400 seats in the British House of Commons and ending 14 years of Tory rule. But that is ancient history now. Keir Starmer today stood in front of 10 Downing Street and announced he would be stepping down as the leader of the Labour Party and as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom this September after his successor is chosen.
The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September.
Under Starmer's leadership, the Labour Party has plummeted in the polls. His government slide first started after it announced various cuts to social welfare benefits, like payments to help people pay winter heating bills. It also found itself facing the wrath of farmers over a plan to tax inherited farmland. But it was his handpicking of Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the US that accelerated his demise. Mandelson was ensnared in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, as the Epstein files showed Mandelson called Epstein his best pal. And Mandelson faces allegations that are similar to Andrew Mountbatten, formerly Prince Andrew, namely that he linked sensitive information to Epstein for personal gain. That forced Prime Minister Starmer to issue a public apology.
I want to say this. I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry that even now you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again.
With the Mandelson scandal making headlines day after day, Labour MPs began to revolt. Top cabinet ministers resigned and called on Starmer to do the same. Then came the losses in what are known as local elections. CNN's Claire Sebastian is in London with more on that.
But the real clinching factor was that we had local elections across the UK in various parts in May, and the Labour Party suffered a massive defeat, losing more than 1,400 local council seats, even as we saw the right-wing populist Reform Party led by Nigel Farage surge. So that was a real wake-up call. That seemed to suggest to certain parts of the Labour Party that they were going to struggle to defeat Reform in any general election. We have to have a general election in this country by around the middle of 2029. So that is when the calls for Prime Minister Starmer to go grew even louder.
The final blow for Starmer may have come just days ago because of one single by-election in the northwest of England. The winner there was Andy Burnham. He's the former mayor of Greater Manchester, known in UK political circles as the King of the North. And he is now seen as the frontrunner to replace Keir Starmer. This was Burnham just 3 days ago after his by-election win.
But I do say to my own party This is a final chance to change. This is what people said directly to me on the hundreds of doorsteps that I stood on. We must hear it. We must act upon it, and we must get it right. There will be no second chance. But it is a chance now, from this result tonight, to build a new politics based on unity and hope, turning away from the path that takes us to a divided, dark politics of the kind we see in the United States. We must now take this path and put this country back on the right path and bring people back together and get things working properly again.
In a post on social media, the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, said the current UK government under Labour has no mandate, and he called for a snap election.
Under Starmer, the Labour Party has moved much closer back to the European Union, and if Mr Burnham wins, they'll go closer still, which means Labour voters and the Labour Party are completely divided on this issue. But the bigger point today is that of a mandate, is that of legitimacy. I've no idea whether there'll be a contest or a coronation, but what I do know is the British public have simply had enough of political parties chopping and changing their leaders at will. We vote for somebody in a general election to be our Prime Minister. We expect them to serve their term. And barring ill health or exceptional circumstances, what is going on here, frankly, is reminiscent of a banana republic that has totally devalued the very process of general elections and democracy. I demand, we at Reform demand, a general election.
Number 10, the famous residence of the Prime Minister of the UK is known worldwide for its famous front door. The government might want to consider installing a revolving door. The UK has had 6 Prime Ministers in the last 7 years. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
So far, oil prices are holding steady in the $73 US a barrel range today as the markets await some clarity on the situation between the United States and Iran. Speaking in Switzerland, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said there's been great progress in the negotiations between the two sides.
We laid a very good foundation for a successful final deal. The final deal is the house. We set the foundation. We haven't built the house, but we've laid a successful foundation to get to a good place for the American people. I think it's important for all of us to appreciate how much was done, but honestly, there is still a lot to do as we continue to make progress on the nuclear talks, on the economic talks, as we continue to demine the straits and ensure that that flow of traffic continues to pick back up. A lot of progress, but still some work to do, and we're very committed to doing exactly that.
Vance claimed Iran has agreed to invite International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors back into the country. Iran, though, is not acknowledging that. Claims of a breakthrough come after comments this weekend from U.S. President Donald Trump that Iran would be hit hard. Trey Yinks is a correspondent with Fox News and said he talked with President Trump yesterday.
I spoke earlier with President Trump for more than 20 minutes, and he responded to that threat from the Iranians, saying that he spoke with Iranian officials overnight and told them, you close it and you won't have a country. He went on to say if they don't make a deal, we'll collect tolls. We may take over the strait if we have to. The president says the U.S. could become the guardian angel of the strait and the Middle East and take 20% of the oil.
Back in Switzerland, Vice President Vance was asked about Trump's comments and whether they are hurting or helping the negotiations.
What we told the Iranians yesterday is when you guys engage in what us millennials might call trash talk, you can't expect the President of the United States not to respond and not to correct the record. So when they say things that aren't true, the President is going to respond to it. I'm going to respond to it. Americans are going to respond to it. When they make threats that aren't rooted in reality, they have to accept that the President of the United States is actually going to set the record straight. That's all that happened. So yes, there was a little bit of threatening, there was a little bit of whining, but at the end of the day, the talks continued and we made great progress.
Over the weekend, the Associated Press released its latest polling results on how Americans feel about Trump's handling of the war in Iran. The results show that 65% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the issue, while Trump's overall approval rating is sitting at about 37%. On the Sunday political talk shows in the United States, Democrats were taking aim at the president's handling of the war. For example, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey told NBC's Meet the Press that he supports ending the war, but he called Trump's peace talks abject surrender.
But the way he is trying to bring us out of this war not only speaks to the failures of the war in total, but it also speaks in a bipartisan way to how bad of a leader he is. When you have Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and progressives all coming out talking about capitulation, surrender, catastrophe. You know how bad this deal is. Iran gets all of the benefits, literally billions and billions of dollars, and America continues to hurt and see the losses from the $100 billion we spent in the war to every American citizen seeing their costs skyrocket. This has been a cataclysmic failure of his making.
Over on CBS on Face the Nation, Trump loyalist Senator Lindsey Graham was asked about discontent over these peace talks within Republican circles, and Senator Graham made this prediction.
Let's try this. Let's try a diplomatic solution. I think it's going to fail. What happens next? I spent 4.5 hours with President Trump Friday. Here's what I think will happen next. If this deal fails, President Trump is going to take the Strait of Hormuz over by force. The United States will control the Strait of Hormuz. We'll charge a fee for all those who go through to pay for the operation. And we're going to expand the Abraham Accords in calendar year 2026. We're going to get Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, and which is the biggest change in 5,000 years in the Mideast. And if Iran contests control of the Strait of Hormuz by the United States, we'll obliterate them.
One of Iran's biggest issues, of course, is Israel's continued action in Lebanon against Hezbollah. J.D. Vance said the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government are in constant contact about that.
And the Israelis have been very clear they do not have territorial intentions on South Lebanon. The reason they feel they have to be there is because they're worried about Hezbollah fighters in South Lebanon firing into Israel. We do believe, of course it's going to require a lot of hard work, that we can get to a place where Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty is protected, Israel's security is protected, and that's going to require some coordination with the Lebanese armed forces, and also it's going to require the Iranians to rein in Hezbollah. That's all the sort of things that we were talking about yesterday.
But neither Israel nor Hezbollah is the signatory to the current U.S.-Iran agreement. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
If you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, Now You Know with Rob Snow. We have a new mobile app that will help you hear our show when you want to. You can listen live. You can listen to the podcast. It's called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R. And it has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. You can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled S-E-E-K-R. And Now You Know with Rob Snow is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Brady and Matthew forever. The National Hockey League has had its first big trade of the offseason with the Ottawa Senators shipping the team's captain, Brady Tkachuk, to the Florida Panthers. In return, the Senators are getting a pair of first-round draft picks in this year's draft, a conditional 2029 first-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick. The deal unites Brady Tkachuk with his brother Matthew in Florida. Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman breaks down the trade.
After these Senators were knocked out of the playoffs, Brady Tkachuk and his wife gave birth to their second child, so he missed his exit meeting at the end of the year for excellent reasons. And then a little bit afterwards, Steve Staios, the GM, met with Tkachuk in New Jersey, where he lives. And it was during that conversation that Staios asked about his future. Now, Brady Tkachuk had 2 more years under contract, and I think he asked him flat out, what are you thinking at the end of those 2 years? Would you consider re-signing here? And I don't know if Tkachuk said flat out no yet, or he just indicated it was very unlikely. But whatever was said, the Senators felt they had to pivot, that they did not want this hanging over them any longer. And as you know, Martine, any time that this topic came up, it became an enormous distraction in the market, and I think it became an enormous distraction in the dressing room. And I just think at the end of the day, the Senators decided that when this got out, because it was only a matter of time that it got out, and it was bursting at the seams over the last few days, then it was just going to make the whole situation even crazier. They fought to keep it quiet, which they pretty much did, as much as they could, and then they asked for some teams. And Tkachuk gave them 4 teams: Carolina, Florida, Minnesota, and Vegas. But it became pretty obvious pretty quickly to everybody involved here that his preference was to go to Florida to play with his brother. And I just think the Senators tried to make the best deal they could. That they went out and they tried to get the best they could. They got 3 firsts and a second. And I think what they will do is that they will try to flip those players or those picks for more players that can help them win now. They are in a situation where they are trying to win now, and their best players are in their primes. So I don't know that they feel futures really help them.
Brady Tkachuk spent all 8 years of his NHL career so far with the Ottawa Senators. He was picked 4th overall in the 2018 draft. This year's NHL draft starts on Friday. And in Major League Baseball, if the Toronto Blue Jays are going to make up some ground in the standings in the American League East, now's the time. After a rainout in Chicago yesterday, they were supposed to play the Cubs. The Jays are back home in Toronto now for a 10-game homestand. 3 against the Astros, 4 against the Rangers, and then 3 more against the Mets. That will take the Jays all the way to Canada Day. It was this time last year that the Jays really started heating up, and by Canada Day of last year, they found themselves in first place in the American League East. Of course, went all the way to the World Series. As of now, the Jays are 1 game under 500. In third place in the American League East, 8.5 games behind the Yankees, 2 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. The Jays holding down the final wild card spot in the American League right now. Jays and Astros tonight from Rogers Center. 7 o'clock start time on Sportsnet. That's Eastern time. Dylan Cease expected to get the start for the Jays. Shane Bieber could make his first start on the mound for the Jays tomorrow. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know, and this is News Radio. With our Monday Newsday panel, we're going to focus on federal politics today with the help of Matthew Dube, Vice President at Proof Strategies. Welcome back, Matthew. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Rob. Happy to be here.
And Jeff Rutledge is here, Senior Vice President, McMillan Vantage. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, very good. Let me run down some of these end of session polls. Some of them are brand new, hot off the presses, like an Abacus data poll has the Liberals at 45, Conservatives 37, NDP 9. Nanos, Liberals 43, Conservatives 31, NDP at 12. Angus Reid, Liberals 41, CPC 36, the NDP at 12. And Liaison, brand new poll out this morning, Liberals 43, Conservatives 32, NDP 14. Jeff Rutledge, how would you describe this? Is now we're at the end of the session now, and the barbecue season has started. Politicians in cowboy hats flipping pancakes soon enough at the Calgary Stampede. How would you describe the political horse race right now?
Well, it feels weirdly a little bit status quo, given the Prime Minister's been in for about a year, and it certainly seems like the honeymoon just seems relatively persistent at the moment. But, you know, the polls are coming out, have come out over the last week, are just in advance of us finding out that inflation continues to rise and outpace what the Bank of Canada has targeted. And so, we're inside of a year, as I said, on the Prime Minister being in power and going to make all these moves to drive the economy in the right direction, and yet we're still seeing inflation grow and make it more expensive to do the things you need to do in this country, like buy food, build homes, and put gas in your car. So troubled waters ahead, I think, perhaps for the Prime Minister.
Okay, troubled waters ahead, he thinks. What do you think, Matthew? How would you describe that political horse race right now?
Yeah, I definitely think the honeymoon's lasted a lot longer than some would have expected, especially because, as we've talked about on this show in the past, it seems like the tangible results and the impact on Canadians' day-to-day lives have been perhaps lacking. Even if there's a lot of vision, it's not always there in the realization, it seems like, although that remains to be seen how some of this plays out. But at the same time, I think the story that's maybe not told in some of those numbers you shared, Rob, is how people feel about the leaders themselves specifically. And I think one thing the Liberals are benefiting from is that Pierre Poilievre just doesn't seem to be resonating with Canadians, and there really is no indication that he's going to change strategies anytime soon. The Conservative leader seems intent on just sort of waiting out the circumstances, letting some of these domestic issues catch up to the Prime Minister and things like that. Whether that's wise to do, I guess with a majority, you have time on your side, but I'm not necessarily convinced that that'll change everything overnight, because at the end of the day, if you're unpopular with Canadians as a leader, even if the government, is not well liked, which it is right now, that's not the case, but I'm not sure that that's sufficient for Pierre Poilievre. And the other story, and I'm maybe a bit biased on this, but is the consistent appearance of the NDP in the double digits, sort of closing in on where they were in the early 2000s, leading up to when Jack Layton became leader, and perhaps more importantly, a lot of the individuals and the sites that aggregate some of these numbers kind of pushes the NDP closer into being the territory of party status with the number of seats, which obviously is a low bar to get over, but a bar that the party needs to get over. It's incrementalism in that case. So that's something interesting to watch as well. Avi Lewis hasn't been around a ton, just obviously given the work he has to do on the road, but I think he's managed to pick his spots well, and I think you're starting to slowly see, as silly as it may sound given such low numbers, some improvement for the party in that respect as well.
Okay. I do want to explore that a little bit more with both of you, but let's circle back. The personal approval numbers of the leading contenders here, Carney versus Poilievre, how much of a handicap is that for the Conservative leader, Jeff Rutledge?
Yeah, I think it is a problem. I think for Pierre to be able to confidently, and we talked about this a lot over the past number of months, Pierre to be able to confidently go to his caucus and go to Canadians and say, yes, I have the ability to win the next election and deliver a Conservative government. He needs to be able to drive those numbers up, right? And a big component of that is trust, and also feeling like he's connected to the issues that really matter. And most importantly, I think for a lot of Canadians right now, that he is a competent, that he could competently sit across the table from Donald Trump and negotiate on Canada's behalf. And that's not necessarily a fair means of judgment at the moment, because the reality is probably by the time the next election comes around in Canada, Donald Trump will be out of office. And so the expectations of the leader will be very different than they are currently. But that doesn't necessarily affect what the polls are at this given moment in time. And so for Mr. Poilievre, I think he's struggling a little bit to find that narrative in the space that's out there right now, because there isn't a ton of air for him to jump into, given where everything is at with global politics at the moment. So it is certainly a headwind for, as you know, Mr. Carney has it on the inflation side. This is the headwind on Mr. Poilievre's side.
Okay. So, Matthew, just picking up on what you said about the NDP. Election night 2025, I mean, not a great night, obviously, for the NDP. No. You lose official party status, gets 6% of the vote. The leader loses his own in his own riding in the Burnaby area. So 6% of the vote. You have 3 of these 4 polls that I rhymed off. One of them has the NDP at 12. Another one has the NDP at 12. Liaison has the NDP at 14. What do you think it is about maybe Avi Lewis that may be registering with some voters that wasn't before?
Yeah, I think the Avi seems to have done a good job of, again, as I said a moment ago, picking his spots and the right issues. I also think it's offering a compelling counterpoint to Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives on a lot of these affordability issues, right? I think that, rightly or wrongly, I think the perception has been from the Conservatives, like a lot of the issue rather has been framed as one more of anger, frustration, in opposition. Whereas I think with what Avi's doing is trying to present, proposals, right? Like the conversation around algorithmic pricing, as it's called, right? Like predatory pricing, cracking down on that. And that found its way into a piece of government legislation, although whether that's sufficient or not remains to be seen. But I think sort of finding these ways to be a little more constructive, a little more, a little more positive, I think, despite being critical, I think is an interesting change of tone for the affordability issue, as opposed to, maybe the more negative slant of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. So I think that's been helpful. I also think it's the absence of anyone on the left for progressives, right? I think there's an open space there, and slowly but surely the NDP is getting its foot back in the door. Early days, but I think that's a sign to watch as well going forward.
All right. Be right back. Monday Newsday panel on News Radio. We're talking politics on a Monday with Jeff Rutledge from McMillan Vantage, from Proof Strategies, Matthew Dube. Matthew Dube, Prime Minister Carney has said multiple times now that the U.S. war in Iran was worth it. He has described the war in many ways over the last few months, but now he's saying it was worth it. What do you think of that?
I was shocked to hear that, to be honest with you, Rob. I think that it's especially because the Prime Minister took a lot of flack over the last several months for being all over the place, as you pointed out, on this issue. So to land there was strange to me, especially because I don't think anyone, no matter where they sit on the political spectrum outside of the U.S., feels that way. I mean, President Trump took the status quo, upended it, and then made a poor attempt at fixing it, and is now asking to be lauded for that. So I think that's the status quo now is worse than the one before the war started. There was no regime change, no better lot in life for the individuals in Iran that are oppressed by the regime. The Strait of Hormuz situation is still fluid, so there's really little to celebrate, and a lot that's been just further damaged or broken, figuratively and literally in this instance. So it seems to be part of what was a weird performative gesture by the other 6 countries in the G7 last week to sort of celebrate the president and his deal and everything. It seemed to sort of fit into that. I appreciate what everyone's saying, that the Prime Minister was on CNN, his audience was Trump. It doesn't matter what Canadians think of it, but you're also the Prime Minister of Canada, and I have yet to see evidence, both in the first Trump presidency and in this one, that being a sycophant for the president leads anywhere from a results perspective. I mean, so much hay has been made about how much President Trump disliked Chrystia Freeland and even Justin Trudeau to an extent, but they got a deal done with him last time, and I appreciate the first go-around is not the same as this time. A lot's changed, despite the unpredictability being a consistent factor across both presidencies, but I'm a little miffed as to why that's the tactic that was gone with. I suspect that, there's, maybe we'll all be proven wrong a few weeks or months from now.
Not to upset the apple cart. That seems to be it.
I guess
Let's get to Jeff.
But there's no evidence that helps.
Okay. Point taken. Jeff, what do you think with Mr. Carney saying it was worth it? This war was worth it.
In fairness, what does he have to lose by saying it, really? I mean, in Canada, there's a great deal of Canadians who kind of are neither here nor there on the issue realistically, and look at it as being this complex thing that they don't necessarily want to weigh in on because it is very murky and messy. And on the other side of that, you have a large Iranian diaspora in Canada who would, or Persian, I'm sure they would refer to themselves that way, who would be very supportive of attempts to take down the regime there and restore democracy. And then on the other side, I mean, we hear that there are many IRGC-connected folks running around Canada. So at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has very little to lose in Canada in making these comments. And I think, as you guys have discussed, the math was, well, what can I win in the U.S.? And I think there's a great deal of Canadian reporters who would very much like to have those sorts of conversations with him here north of the border, and yet he goes to American channels to have those discussions. So, I mean, maybe there would be more accountability on those things up here if it was being broadcast to Canadians. But I think you also have Minister Anand, who's going out and kind of speaking out of the other side of her mouth on issues like this as well. So it is a very challenging scenario, but I don't think the Prime Minister had much to lose in doing this.
Okay. This is kind of an under-the-radar story, but I'm quite interested in it. So in BC, developers built too many condos. Speculators don't want to buy them. So now the EB government in BC and the Carney governments are offering these developers financial relief, like billions and billions of dollars in financial relief. Jeff, what do you make of that?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one because I think there is the argument to be made that, look, if you have this housing supply out there and you have people who need homes, and you should connect the two, and the government could help to facilitate that. And that is a fair argument to be made if you have supply out there, rather than waiting for, affordable specific housing to be built. But on the other side of that, you have this scenario where the demand for that good is being driven down by the cost of it, right? And the Minister of Housing, Greg Robertson, when he was first appointed to the role, struggled to communicate to Canadians whether or not he felt the prices of homes should come down. Why? Because Canadians who own homes already don't want the value of their home to decline. But those who are trying to get into the market, of course, do. And so I don't know what this investment does to address housing, and I don't know if it actually will have the direct benefit they're hoping it will. It's a big bill for units that were supposed to be sold privately.
Yeah. I mean, it's being described by some of his critics as this is a bailout for developers, Matthew. Do you think that's a fair criticism, a bailout for developers?
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I suspect they're between a rock and a hard place on this because you can't, you need people to build the homes, and if too many of them go under, I imagine you're in a bit of a conundrum in that circumstance as well, right? Someone's going to have to build the supply of homes that's still needed, even if they've clearly, misread the market. And I think the problem was, a level of greed that cemented itself when we saw these astronomical prices, particularly during the pandemic in a few key markets. Think of BC and parts of Ontario and other places during the pandemic. So I think that they've and I think the other thing that needs to be considered here, though, is that this is the problem with having allowed this problem to percolate too long, right? I think the issues in the housing market have been long discussed, and there's been need for concerted action across levels of government. And it's only in the last couple of years that there's really been that wake-up call. And I think this is part of the consequence of that. If something had been done sooner, this outcome probably could have been avoided. But appreciate that there's probably a bit of a too big to fail circumstance here, to not to reuse that old phrase, but I suspect that that's a bit of the thinking as well.
Okay, when we come back, UK politics, what the heck happened to Starmer? This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
A few minutes more with Jeff Rutledge from McMillan, Vantage, Matthew Dube with Proof Strategies as we're talking politics on a Monday. And the big political story worldwide is that's it for Starmer. He's on his way out. There will be a leadership race for the Labour Party. Whoever wins that will become the next Prime Minister of the UK. This is a leader who led his party, the Labour Party, to a huge landslide win less than 2 years ago. Matthew, what happened?
Well, it's funny, as we have conversations in Canada about how to make MPs feel empowered when they're not happy with their leader, I suspect some in the UK might be feeling the opposite because they're on 7 prime ministers now in 10 years. I think that's exactly it. I think that MPs hold a lot of weight in caucus in the way that things are run in the UK, and I think that there's a lot of instability in the UK. This has all been post-Brexit, notably. There's multiple parties now in the House of Commons, and so I just think that the trends are moving quickly. The population's a bit all over the place, and I think the MPs are going with them and taking their leaders out at the same time.
What do you think, Jeff? What happened here with Starmer?
Yeah, well, I had to poke one of my British buddies on this one to get the real meat of the argument. But I think it's a really interesting discussion because it has been both sides of the aisle that have been impacted by this, right? It's not just Labour, it's not just the Conservatives, it is both sides. And so I think what it points to perhaps is a deficiency in the system itself and the ability for, the government, and I use that in terms of the bureaucracy and all of the systems that are associated with it, to be able to respond to, the really significant changes that have happened in the UK over the last number of years, and Brexit being one of the most significant parts of that. I think there were a lot of people who voted for it that were expecting to see much more significant benefits in terms of how their government shifted and became most responsive to the needs of the British population. And I just don't think that they are getting that. So I think the fundamental services they expect from their government are falling short, and they're inevitably taking it out on elected officials who are operating a system that doesn't seem to be able to respond.
And yet, if it's disappointment about Brexit, one of the top organizers during Brexit for the pro-leave in the UK is leading the most popular party, Nigel Farage Reform. Jeff, it's
and I think that's exactly the point. Is that now he's becoming popular because he's saying, well, they just didn't do it right. If I'm in there, I can fix it, and I can really deliver Brexit for you and reform the system, hence the name. So I think that is the direction and the trajectory right now, which seems wild to think of.
Okay. Thank you so much to the both of you. Great to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Thanks
Rob.
Yeah. Matthew Dube, Vice President, Proof Strategies in Ottawa. He's a former NDP MP. Jeff Rutledge in Toronto, Senior Vice President, McMillan, Vantage. Talkback is coming up next on News Radio. Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today's topic is inflation and the cost of living. Are Canadians getting ahead? Getting ahead? Do you think Canadians are getting ahead in this economy? What would you say? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Getting ahead. You think Canadians are getting ahead? Would you say, yeah, I think Canadians are getting ahead in this economy? Would you say, holding steady? Holding steady. Or would you say falling behind? Falling further and further behind because of the cost of living, because of inflation. What do you think? Have your say. 1-833-668-2577. Bringing it up because the inflation report is out. It has a 3 in front of it, 3.2%. And it's all about the price of gas, according to StatsCan. This is the reading of inflation for the month of May. Keep in mind, we're in the third week of June now. But in May, on a year-over-year basis, gas prices were up 33%. Because, obviously, everything happening in the United States, Iran, Strait of Hormuz. And think about how things were with oil prices and gasoline prices last month. Oil prices were hovering around $90 a barrel. In many cities, gas prices were getting close to $2 a liter. Today, though, oil prices are back down to around $73 a barrel. And in many Canadian cities, gas is going for about $1.70 a liter, $1.60, $1.70. But according to this report, food prices were up 3.8% for food, shelter costs up 1.7%. In fact, all 8 major components of the consumer price index showed increases. You put it all together, the overall inflation rate, 3.2%. 3.2%. Strongest reading on inflation in 2 years, but again, mainly because of gasoline. And when you take out gasoline and you look at what the Bank of Canada calls core inflation, that measure came in at 2.1%. So that's inflation. But then there are wages. According to StatsCan, in its most recent employment report, wages in Canada increased 3% in the month of May, and the average hourly wage went up by $1.10 an hour to an average hourly wage of $37.24 an hour. So you have the core measure of inflation up 2.1%. You have wages up 3%. Does that mean Canadians are getting ahead? Does that mean Canadians are getting ahead? Now, we played this clip for you before. We're going to play it again today. This goes back to the middle of April during question period in the House of Commons. Prime Minister Mark Carney being questioned by the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, about inflation, about the cost of living. And Prime Minister Carney at the time said that wages are growing faster than the rate of inflation, so Canadians are getting ahead. Let's play that again.
Mr. Speaker, one thing I've learned in my economics education is you've got to study history and you've got to look at numbers. My record as a central bank governor is inflation less than 2% at the Bank of Canada, inflation less than 2% at the Bank of England. But let's get back to where we are today, which is wages in this country are growing at more than twice the rate of inflation, and I'll spell it out for the member opposite. That means Canadians are getting ahead.
You hear it there. Wages are growing faster than inflation, and that means Canadians are getting ahead. But is that what you think? That we're getting ahead? Wages are growing up 3%. Average hourly wage in this country more than $37 an hour these days. So are we getting ahead? 1-833-668-2577. Getting ahead. Now, you may have seen these ads on television. In very heavy rotation, I swear, every time I sit down to watch a Blue Jays game, I see this ad from the government of Canada about how it's making my life and your life and all of our lives more affordable and that we're getting ahead. Let's play the ad.
The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. We're increasing the GST credit to help eligible Canadians pay for groceries and essentials. Learn more.
The actual title of the ad is Getting Ahead. And you're encouraged to visit a Government of Canada website, canada.ca/getting ahead. And you hear the claims there. The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. And then it touts its new and improved GST credit, which is now called the Groceries and Essentials Benefit. And that is, I mean, it's hundreds of dollars. It's real money into the bank accounts of real Canadians. But is it helping Canadians get ahead? I mean, those are the buzzwords of the government right now, getting ahead. That's what its whole PR campaign is about helping you get ahead. So I ask you today, everyone, are you getting ahead? You, your family, your children, your neighbors, are you getting ahead? Are you holding steady? Are you falling behind? The government says we are bringing down your costs. We have a new GST credit, more money for you. We suspended the excise tax on gasoline until Labor Day. We save you money when you fill up at the gas station. We cut income taxes. That saves you $840 a year for a two-income family. More money for essentials like food, less tax on gas, income tax cut, all to help you get ahead. But the inflation rate comes out and it's 3.2%, with gas prices up 33%. Data, numbers, policies, promises, spin. It's the first few days of summer 2026. Here's what we want to know today on Talkback. Are Canadians getting ahead? Are you getting ahead? Are you holding steady? Are you falling behind? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that and we'll make your call a priority. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Very much zeroed in on inflation and the cost of living today because the government, talking about the federal government here, it says it's made decisions to help you get ahead. GST rebate rebranded as the Groceries and Essentials Benefit, paying out more. Suspension of the gas tax until Labor Day. Cutting income taxes. The government says this is all to help Canadians get ahead, but the inflation rate was out today and it was 3.2%. Wages, though, up 3% in the same month. Are Canadians getting ahead? Are Canadians getting ahead? What would you say? Are they holding steady or are they falling further behind? 1-833-668-2577. Let's start with Mason in Calgary. Hello, Mason.
Yeah, hello, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Mason. You're welcome, Mason. What would you say, Mason?
Yes. I'll start with the facts. I've been in Calgary for about 10 years, and I bought a house for $600,000. I think my house now is worth $1 million or $1.1 million. So, good value equity-wise there. And then my wife and I have always worked as well, and we've always tried to save and invest. And I've put a lot of money into the Canadian stock market over the last 3-4 years, and that's done really well. I've participated in the RESP program for my kids, and I get grants for that. So I'd say overall, for what the government should be doing for their citizens in some of these areas, there's been tools that I've taken advantage of and done well, and I've got ahead. I've got ahead over the last 10 years. So I'm pretty pleased with it, but I understand there's a ton of work that needs to be done in productivity and job growth and continue the wage growth story, because that could be a lot stronger. So, honestly, it's not too bad for myself. So that's just how I feel and some of the facts behind my life there. So just wanted to share that.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. And again, you benefit from when you bought your house, and you've seen appreciation there, and you have investments in the markets, and the markets have performed very well, and that's helping you to get ahead. All well and good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's go to Bob. He is I think it's Bob in Elmira. Is it Bob? Oh, Bon. Sorry about that. Hello, Bon.
Okay. I do
Bon.
not. Go ahead.
You go ahead. Do you think Canadians are getting ahead?
No, I do not.
You do not?
Not the seniors anyway. Not the seniors. No.
Not the seniors.
Because our income does not go up like regular wages. They get increased. Baby bonus gets increased. And they all need it. Like, I'm not criticizing it. They need it. But the seniors' wages, like our income, does not go up like the rest. And we end up having to lose our homes. A spouse dies, and you can't keep your home anymore because there's only one income. Or there's only one income because you're a senior. And it's devastating when you lose a spouse, and then you have to lose your home as well.
And what are the specific pressures that you think are making more seniors more vulnerable to that particular circumstance? What are the pressures?
Cost of living,
financial
price
pressures,
of gas.
cost of
Yeah.
living. Okay,
Price
of
of
gas,
gas, price of
groceries.
groceries.
Yes.
Hydro, just everything goes up, except when I went to university, we had poverty levels, and the poverty levels did not go up for seniors or people on disability, not the level, like their income did not go up. So it's very, very hard for people to be able to meet their income to, sorry, I'm really nervous. I've never done this before.
That's okay. That's okay. You're clearly very emotional about it. Now, the government is saying we're helping Canadians. The groceries and essentials benefit has been improved. They have suspended the excise tax on fuel. There's an income tax cut. Are you saying you're not benefiting from any of these measures? Or
We're
is it not
benefiting
enough?
from some of it. It's not enough. It's just not enough. Our income is not enough for the the low income.
So you think there should be increases in things like what? Old age security, Canada pension plan payouts, so those sorts of things? Is that what you're pointing to?
Either that, or because you're under, we'll say, X number of dollars, that you should be able to get some sort of increase to top you up so that you're not living in so much poverty. Like,
okay, well, there is the guaranteed income supplement is supposed to help low income seniors, and yet that's not enough either.
$200 a month. It's not much.
$200 a month. It's not enough. Okay, so you would say falling behind and not getting ahead.
Right.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And just like that, we are off and running. Isn't that two divergent views. Mason in Calgary bought a house a decade ago. It's gone up in value. Put some money into the market. That's gone up in value. RESPs, done very well. TSFAs, done very well. It applauds the government for some of the decisions that it's made. But in Elmira, a senior says, no, I can't keep up with the rising cost of living. The government's buzzwords are get ahead. We're helping you to get ahead. Are Canadians getting ahead with an inflation rate of 3.2%? 1-833-668-2577. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Getting ahead, getting ahead. I hear that on the government's advertising all the time. Getting ahead. We've improved the GST rebate. It's groceries and essentials rebate. Now it's more money in your pocket. We've cut the gas tax. Well, suspended the excise tax on fuel until Labor Day. Cut income taxes. Also, you can get ahead. But look, the inflation rate came out today, 3.2%. So are Canadians getting ahead? That's what we're asking today on Talkback. John is in Nova Scotia. Hello, John.
Good day, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm very good, John. Yeah, good to hear from you, John. What would you say, John?
What would I say? Well, Rob, you need to break that question down into different groups. I'm a senior, 69 years old here in August. The wife and I are both retired. We have a small pension. And all the goodies that you had talked about, you know, the grocery thing, income tax, we're just above the cutoff line, so we do not take advantage of any of that. We cannot take advantage of anything.
You don't qualify. You make too much money. Nope. You don't qualify.
Well,
fair enough.
Well, of course, some people say we make too much money, but I guess here's the point. What we make is not putting us ahead. We're gradually falling back.
And what is leading to that? Is it the inflation, the cost of living?
Cost of everything. And when you mention cost of living, the cost of living includes everything from heating your home to having a vehicle. When you live out in the country, you have no transportation other than a vehicle. So look at what it costs to buy a vehicle nowadays. And Rob, I brought this up in your show. I brought it up on the talk show in Nova Scotia. Our elected representatives who give themselves huge raises, they don't ask the taxpayer, who is their boss, can I have a raise? They just get it. They keep, instead of looking up what the root causes of why the cost of living is going up higher, they give out money to certain groups of people. This day and age, with the automation, technology, cost of living was supposed to come down. It hasn't. We've got way too much greed. The government is allowing it because they're part of a major cause of the problem, in my opinion, themselves, because they're greedy.
Right. So what more could the government do in order to help someone like you get ahead? Because it sure sounds as though that's its goal, is to help you get ahead.
Well, here's a good something that would really be nice. Once you or I or any Canadian that's been a Canadian for generations in this country and has contributed their whole life working, my wife and I worked full time. It wasn't seasonal. It wasn't part-time, full-time. So what little investments we have, leave us keep the interest. Because everything, they just grab everything. You can't make any, and the banks are just as bad. The banks charge you to keep your money. They charge you to take your money. When I was growing up, I started my bank account. My bank account on an ordinary savings account made 4%. 4%. You can't even get a 10-year. You can't make 4%.
Okay.
You know,
Right. But you're saying everywhere you turn, whether it's the government, the banks, whatever, they've got a hand in your pocket, hand in my pocket, hand in my pocket, hand in my pocket. Gotcha. The government says it's made many decisions to help Canadians get ahead. New GST rebate, suspension of the gas tax, income tax cut. Are you getting ahead? It's inflation day in Canada. The inflation report came out today. 3.2% has a 3 in front of it. 3.2%. Gasoline, the big driver there, up 33%. But since that happened, gas prices have eased off a little bit. The oil price is down between $15 and $20 a barrel. So, we'll see what the next inflation report says. StatScan says, okay, if you take out gasoline prices, the actual inflation rate is 2%. And the government says it has all kinds of programs and policies to help Canadians get ahead. It's promoting them quite heavily with ads like this one. I just heard this. Let's play this again.
The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. We're suspending the federal fuel excise tax to help bring down gas costs this summer. Learn more at canada.ca/getting-ahead. A message from the Government of Canada.
Yeah, so that's one. And let's play the other one, too, where they tout the groceries and essentials benefit, the new GST rebate. Play that other one, please.
The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. We're increasing the GST credit to help eligible Canadians pay for groceries and essentials. Learn more.
Yeah, so you hear that. Groceries and essentials benefit, suspension of the gas tax. That's still Labor Day. The Carney government would also say, we've cut income taxes. We're helping you get ahead. We're bringing down your costs. And yet the inflation rate was 3.2%. Wages were higher in the same month by 3%. What would you say? Are Canadians getting ahead? Are Canadians kind of holding steady? Or are Canadians falling behind? We want to know, and we have lots of lines to take your call today on the Monday Talkback. Let's go to Rhonda in Nova Scotia. Hello, Rhonda. All right, let's try Gordon then. Hello, Gordon.
Hey, Rob, how you doing? You looking well?
I'm very good. Well, thank you. I don't know how you would know that, but I appreciate that.
My technology today.
Okay.
Anyway.
Go ahead, Gordon. That kind of troubles me that you would say that, but go ahead.
Anyways, this is something I was reading in the paper the other day, how the cost of food is going to go up because the farmers are having to pay more for fertilizer and fuel. I would love to be able to make the food go up, or not make the food go up, but at least get our costs increased. We have to suck that up. We aren't able to pass our increases on to the consumer. So it's irritating where they say, oh, food's going to go up because the farmers are charging more for the cost of fertilizer and fuel. We just have to suck that up. We're price takers. We're not price makers.
Sure, you're taking whatever the price is for whatever commodity you're selling on the market, right? And the market sets the price. You don't set the price, right?
We don't. We have to suck this up. Whenever they say that the cost of food is going up because of the farmers are paying more for fertilizer and fuel, I hate to say it, but that's a crock of you know what.
Okay, so, well, I mean, food prices were up almost 4% according to this latest inflation report. So why are those costs going up?
Well, okay, sure, the truckers and all those guys are paying more for diesel, but it's not because of us charging more for our fertilizer and our fuel. We just have to suck that up, and our margins are dropping to about maybe 1% at the most.
Yeah. So if diesel prices go up as they've done, 30, 40%, that feeds into the whole transportation side of the agri economy, right?
Yes, but it doesn't. We can't pass that on like trucking outfits and all those guys can.
Sure thing.
We're stuck.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, you're a farmer. You're a farmer, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting ahead?
we might break even this year.
You might break even. So kind of holding steady then.
You'd hate to see. We're not a big farmer. We farm about 5,000 acres, which is kind of a small farmer now. But our cost of fertilizer and fuel is horrendous. And some of these big guys, I could retire on the money they spend on fertilizer and fuel just in the spring. I could retire on that quite comfortably. So could most everybody else. And they're barely making 1% on their money.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a good snapshot into what life is like for you, Gordon. I appreciate that. Kind of holding steady, trying to break even. 1-833. What about you? 1-833-668-2577. Donna is in Dartmouth, the first-time caller. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Rob. How are you doing today?
Yeah. Very good, Donna.
So,
what would you say?
So Rob,
Getting ahead.
I just wanted to talk about the employment insurance for a second here.
Yeah.
It's things I've worked for 42 years, never collected EI. Okay, always paid into it just like everybody else pays into it. Unfortunately, I was cut from a big company this past February. I did open up a claim, an EI claim, first time ever, and didn't really understand a whole lot about it. But one thing that I was told that totally surprises me, and I haven't had anybody yet to be able to explain it to me, is because I collect my CPP at 60, which I was entitled to do. They cut $150 a month off my EI because of that pension. Okay,
I see.
now
There's a
if you look at
clawback to it. Okay.
That's treating EI like welfare, right? So, but it's not welfare. It's an insurance program that somebody paid into for 40 years without collecting on it. So that does not make sense. How because I did that, I have my CPP. They feel they can take $150 off. It's little things like that keep people behind.
Yeah. So, I mean, my gosh, I mean, if you're collecting EI and you're on, the government pension, I mean, what's that like to try and get ahead?
Well, you can't, right? You really can't. But it's penalizing somebody for taking employment insurance. Employment insurance was never meant to be a welfare system. It's meant to pay into an insurance
to be an
until
insurance
you
policy.
find another job.
You pay a premium.
Exactly.
You pay a premium. There are contributions from your employer. Sure. Yeah.
But it's one of those little grabs the government does that majority of people probably don't realize until you're stuck in that situation. I kind of feel
First
like
I've heard of it.
That's not the only little grab that happens, but there's definitely more. But that's one of them. So that's what I wanted to call in today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for raising awareness about that. Inflation and the cost of living and getting ahead today. Lots of lines available there, folks. Lots of time to take your call on the Monday Talkback as we try and make sense of this inflation report and what it really means for Canadians as they try to get ahead. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Do you think Canadians are getting ahead, holding steady, falling behind? Wages are growing, but the inflation rate was 3.2%. Give me a sense of things, everyone. 1-833-668-2577. 3-4 lines available. And let's go to Dana, is in Halifax, first-time caller. Hello, Dana.
Hey, what's up? How are you doing today, Rob? Long-time listener.
Yeah, I'm very good, Dana. Thank you very much for calling today. What would you say?
I really have a vast opinion on it, but what it really boils down to is corporate greed. You always hear them asking for handouts, but you never hear them say, well, why can't we take a little less profit? It always gets passed down to the consumers. And as consumers, we're always going to consume, but they seem to keep wanting to grab more from us. And inflation is just a way to grab more from us, in my opinion.
Okay. Give me an example of the kind of corporate greed that you're talking about. Give me an example.
I'll use where I'm from. Nova Scotia Power is asking for a rate increase, right? They're now owned by a hedge fund or whatever you want to call it. And instead of asking, well, how much profits did you guys take in last year? that question seems to never get asked to the big businesses when they keep asking for more from the consumer. And instead of asking that question, well, why can't you guys take a 5% less in profits instead of asking for 5% from the consumer? But it doesn't ever seem to be that way. It always seems to be skewed in the favor of big business. Always.
Okay.
There's
So
no.
what would be your remedy for that? What should, I mean, do you want, what do you want the government to do? Do you want the government to limit, say, the profits that a company can make? This is a proposal from the NDP. Let's say a company makes a lot of money because the oil price went up, or a grocery chain makes a lot of money because food prices went up. Well, if they make over and above a certain amount, you tax whatever it is, the excess profit. Do you support something like that?
I don't know about limiting profits because that could be bad either way. But what they're asking for increases should be based upon profit intake, in my opinion. So depending on how much you make, it should be on how much you should be able to ask for, not limiting what you can get. It should all be always based off of what the company's making. So I have no idea what the numbers are for Nova Scotia Power, but they're definitely making money off of us. And they shouldn't be able to ask for that much. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people struggling, and 5 to 10% can hurt somebody hard, like really bad.
Sure. Okay. So overall, like, what's your impression of things right now with the way things are? Do you think Canadians are getting ahead?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't.
You're more inclined to put it on the corporate side, though. You think it's because of corporate greed?
I do think that it shouldn't be passed to the consumer. The corporations are always making money, and they're always looking to take more. Why can't you take less profits instead of taking more in a percentage from people? Like, take a little less profit. I'm not asking you to limit your profit. I'm not asking to have the government control it. But what you should be able to charge should be based on what your profit is. If you're making money, why try to take more? Is my opinion, right?
Okay. Fair enough, Dana. Thank you. Going to move along. Let's go to Kitchener for the first time today. Chrissy is there. Hello, Chrissy.
Hi. Can you hear me, Rob?
I hear you just fine, Chrissy. What would you say on getting ahead?
I say the cost of living has gotten ridiculous in the last few years. I remember when butter was $1.99. That wasn't that long ago. I would say maybe about $5-6 years ago. $1.99. $1.99. Yeah, it's $8.99 now.
It's all you can
for
do
butter.
to find a pound of butter for $7 or $8 now. $1.99. I'd be in dreamland. I'd be loading up. On
you
the
and
butter
me
if
both.
it was
When it
going
goes
for
on sale
$1.
for $5.49, $5.49 is what we're getting it for on sale now.
Yeah.
So, I just say the cost of living's gotten outrageous. I have a beautiful daughter with her beautiful family of 4. They can't get ahead. And my husband and I have, bent over backwards to try and help them get a home. We have to co-sign for them. They're not even approved for enough to get a home. It's just the market's just starting to come into the range where they can get a home now. But, it's just gotten ridiculous. Everything has gotten ridiculous. You can't afford to feed your family of 4. They're supplementing. People are supplementing. It's not my family, but some people are supplementing by going to food banks. I see seniors. I drive a school bus. I see them. They're out there. They're going to food banks just to supplement their incomes because they don't have enough. I'm afraid to retire. My husband and I are both afraid to retire.
What about what you're hearing from the government? Again, it's running these ads. We won't play it right now. We're trying to help you out. We've given you the groceries and essentials benefit. We've suspended the gas tax until Labor Day.
They don't give it to my husband and I. No, we make too much apparently. Now, if I make too much, God love you, I work hard for it, but I don't make enough to put. I'm lucky if I can save $30-$40 a week away. But that's what you got to do. You got to try and save so that you have something in the end. I think for my family, we might have to sell our house and help our kids, and we might have to be multi-family generals living in the same house.
I see. Okay, thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Lots of lines available. Lots of time to take your call on Talkback and trying to get ahead. The inflation report out today at 3.2% inflation reading today. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Inflation rate out today from StatsCan, 3.2%. Gasoline up 33% in a month, but we all know gas prices have been coming back down in the last few weeks. So perhaps inflation at this level will not be sustained, but are Canadians getting ahead? What would you say? The government says it's trying to help Canadians get ahead with a number of policies. Is it working? 1-833-668-2577. Let's go to Clinton is in Halifax. Hello, Clinton.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome, Clinton. What would you say?
I'd like to point out the K shape that we've seen in your callers. We've seen lots of people that are really struggling, and we've seen others that have been able to take advantage of Canadian programs and really thrive with them. Canada has all sorts of programs set up to take care of people with money. If you have a tax-free savings account that's near maxed out, you're earning, $20,000 a year of tax-free income. You can look at what we do with capital gains. When you and I go to work every day, 100% of our labor is taxed. When you have money sitting in a bank account, even if it's in an unsheltered account, only 50% of the gains that you see are taxable and only at your marginal rate. Canada is full of very wealthy people sitting on large bank accounts, not earning, and we're taxing labor really hard, and we're seeing that.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned this. I was going to bring this up in the second hour. K-shaped. How would you explain that for the listeners? Maybe they're not familiar with that. How would you describe what that means?
K-shaped means people that have assets and people who are sitting on an account are thriving. They've never done better. You look at the game, like I'm fortunate enough to be sitting on a bit of a tax-free account, and it gains 23% last year. That's my privilege, and not everybody has that privilege, and those that don't have no way to acquire it. Some of your first caller spoke to doing really well. Did mom and dad help with a loan for that first house? Did he come from an upbringing that allowed him to go to college or university or get a higher education to provide himself with this good living? We don't all have access to that, and those that do have access to it have never done better, and those that don't are struggling worse than ever.
All right. Yeah, very interesting how you would outline that. In fact, there's some new survey data out today from the Angus Reid Institute that we can explore together that highlights exactly what you're talking about, that those with what I would call, and I think what you're saying as well, Clinton, those with wealth or assets feel as though they're doing quite well right now. They are getting ahead. But for people who don't have wealth and rely on, as you say, income, it's a totally different economy for them. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. Thank you. Very interesting call, Clinton, that you bring up today. Are Canadians getting ahead? Are they holding steady? Are they falling behind? Wages are up. But the inflation rate is also heating up at 3.2%. Let's talk about it when we come back in hour number 2 of Talkback. This is News Radio. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback for this Monday. We've been discussing inflation and the cost of living and trying to get ahead. The Carney government says it's made all kinds of decisions to help Canadians get ahead. For example, it has been touting the new GST rebate. It's been improved. The payments are higher, and it's being called the Groceries and Essentials benefit. And you may have seen the ad on television or heard it on the radio. Let's play that one, Curtis.
The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. We're increasing the GST credit to help eligible Canadians pay for groceries and essentials. Learn more.
Bringing down your costs. As well, they've suspended the excise tax, the federal excise tax on gasoline and diesel, and that's in effect until Labor Day. And they want to remind you about that too. Play that, Curtis.
The Government of Canada is bringing down your costs so you can get ahead. We're suspending the federal fuel excise tax to help bring down gas costs this summer. Learn more at canada.ca/gettingahead. A message from the Government of Canada.
Now, the Prime Minister would also say we've cut gas taxes, trying to make childcare more affordable, school food program, all to help Canadians get ahead. Yet the inflation report was out today, and it was 3.2%. Albeit in the same month, wages went up 3%. So are Canadians getting ahead? Are they kind of holding steady? Are they falling behind? Let's discuss with your help. 1-833-668-2577. Mary Lou in Kitchener is up next. Hello, Mary Lou.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, Mary Lou. How are you? Are you getting ahead?
No, I'm not.
No,
and I think
you're not.
several of your callers had talked about the same thing today. It's the group that are just over the limits. So we're not able to take advantage of any of the things that the government is offering because our income is just that much higher. But it's barely higher. So we've lost those benefits, and inflation has gone up so much, and we're seniors, so we're being forced to take out investments, which are taxable because they're RSPs, in order to meet our needs. And,
really,
and I
you have
think
found
that's
you have found that seniors are having to dip into their retirement accounts in order to, say, pay for the basic necessities of life?
Exactly. And it's
instead of benefiting from something called the groceries and essentials benefit. You're not benefiting from that.
We're just over that
just
limit.
Over the limit. Right.
And I'm not sure if this is provincial or Canadian, is dental. It's the same thing. We're just over the limit for dental. We don't get free dental. So all of these things added together are forcing us to use investments which are taxable. In our case, TFSA didn't exist when we were depositing money, or barely. So we don't have enough in TFSA. We've got it in RSPs, which is taxable income. So it just keeps rolling and rolling around, and you're just decreasing your investments. I'd like to see them put it more on a bell curve, where it's not that if you have this income, you're not eligible. Period. Put it in ranges.
Yes.
That it's not all of a sudden nothing, everything or nothing.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, very interesting, Mary Lou. You're not the first to bring that up today. That's a few callers have said that now. Well, groceries and essentials benefit, I don't qualify for that, or any of these other so-called benefit programs. She mentioned dental care, for example. Don't benefit from that. Make too much money. Now, the suspension of the excise tax on gasoline, everybody who drives, and has an internal combustion engine, I suppose, would benefit from that. So there is that. Let's go to Bill in Kitchener today. Hello, Bill.
Hello.
Yes, hi, Bill.
Wanted to talk to your subject today.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'm falling behind further and further every month, and I'm just getting nowhere.
And why do you say that, Bill? What's the big pressure?
Food and all the prices on everything. Taxes. When we're making peanuts, they tax us.
Even if you're making peanuts, you're getting taxed. Okay. What about these claims from the government, for example?
I can't
the groceries
afford
and
to drive
essentials
a car,
benefit.
so the gas money doesn't help me any.
That doesn't help you. Okay. Do you get a break on a transit pass? Do you get a break on that, or do you get free transit at all because of your age? No, you don't get a benefit like that. No. Okay. What about this groceries and essentials benefit? Are you qualifying for that, sir?
No, I don't qualify for that either.
You don't qualify for that. Cutting income taxes. Do you qualify for that? Well, maybe you would. Yeah. No. It's a real struggle for you, is what you're saying.
It's a real struggle every day. I don't know what I'm still here for.
Okay, Bill.
Well, I have no family. I have no kids. Nobody to support me whatsoever.
Oh my gosh, Bill. Well, you hang in there, Bill. I know it sounds very difficult for you right now. Maybe somebody should maybe check in on Bill. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577 with the inflation report out today, 3.2%. Wages up 3%. And the government touting a bevy of benefits. The groceries and essentials benefit, the suspension of the gas tax until Labor Day, income tax cuts, school food programs, dental care programs, child care programs. Are you getting ahead? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Inflation and the cost of living. Thought we'd talk about that. Ask you about it today on Talkback. 4 lines available there. Love to know your opinion. The inflation rate in Canada, 3.2%. Gasoline prices, diesel prices, the culprit there, up 33%. Now, in a previous report in the jobs report, StatsCan said wages are going up. They're up 3% during the same month that inflation was up 3.2%, and the average hourly wage is $37.24 in Canada these days. $37.24 an hour. My gosh, when I was a younger man, it was all I could do to dream of making $37.24 an hour, and yet you hear it from so many people today. Hard to get ahead. It's hard to get ahead. The government says it's trying to help you get ahead. But are Canadians getting ahead? What would you say? Let's go to Sam. Sam is in Hanna, Alberta. Sam?
Good afternoon, Rob. I really love your show. You give every Canadian citizen an opportunity to be on your show and be a part of the solution for all these troubles, all this inflation that was created by the people who occupy the high seats of authority and they abuse the Canadian citizens. My friend Rob, you are the best. I love you. Now, the thing is, Canadian economy is overly, heavily influenced by our southern neighbor. 65% of Shell Canada is owned by one company alone in U.S. They also own 100% of Mexican oil. My friend, the solution is biofuel. Canada can be the pioneer in producing biofuel less than 10 cents a liter once this is done. My God, the same reaction with, yes, sir, biofuel can be produced at less than 10 cents a liter in Canada. Why don't we do it? We will create millions of jobs. We'll create millions of jobs, not only in Canada, worldwide, and we can be the pioneer and export this to the rest of the world. All this economic, to me, I don't know about you, sir, to me, inflation means cancer, and this cancer is growing. We should stop this cancer. The only way is introducing biofuel. We have the technology, we have the manpower, we have all the resources. We can do it in Canada and let Canada be a pioneer in that field.
Okay, that sounds great. I mean, 10 cents a liter. Where do I sign up for that?
7 cents a liter. 7 cents a liter.
7 cents a liter. Even better.
Sir.
My gosh.
And we can reduce that. We can reduce that as we go along. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me ask you, and I love your passion, Sam. I really do. I love your passion. I love your passion.
It has been experimented scientifically. Okay, sir, I have the evidence to prove that, and I want to be a part of that process. And all our Canadians that are really interested to solve this, remove this cancer from Canadian economy. To me, inflation is cancer. That's it.
Okay.
I don't know about you.
All right. Well, here's what I would like to ask you, because you hear these ads over and over again. I must have heard it a dozen times already today. We are helping you get ahead. Okay, we have the groceries and essentials benefit. We've taken the excise tax off of fuel until Labor Day. What do you think about solutions like that, sir?
Canada has to be united. Canada has to stand for itself, and Alberta is with Canada. They don't want to be separated from Canada. They want to be with Canada. But the thing is, the solution is this. Once they understand this, your show also will multiply. You are a part of this process as well, too, Rob. You give all Canadians an opportunity to come on there and talk with you and be a part of the solution. I'm very proud of your show, Rob.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm proud of your phone call, but I think we're going to move along. Thank you. You've been very kind. Very kind. The reason I'm asking this, folks, every single line is available right now, is you listen to these ads. We won't play them again. We've heard enough of them. Clearly, the federal government has invested a whole lot of time and effort. It has clearly polled the public. It's probably done focus groups. It knows people are worried about the cost of living. They're worried, as the previous caller said, about a pound of butter being $7, $8, and people picking it off the shelves clean when it drops below $6. Okay, they're expending a lot of time on a PR campaign, telling them they have solutions that will help you get ahead. They're running TV ads, they're running radio ads, they have ads all over social media, telling us that their plan is helping us to get ahead. But are you getting ahead? 1-833-668-2577, because we have heard from so many people today who, gosh, it sounds like it's all they can do to barely keep their head above water. We have heard from others who are saying, I'm having to dip into, my retirement savings account, something I thought I would never do. It wasn't supposed to be meant for that, to afford a tank of gas or to afford some groceries. And as the months pile up and as the years go by, with the increases in the cost of living, I'm not getting ahead. In fact, I'm falling further and further behind. Have your say on this. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. We also heard from a caller right from the outset who said, yeah, you know what? I'm not doing bad. I bought a house 10 years ago. It's gone way up in value. I'm sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. I've put money to work in the stock market. Stock market has performed very well over the years. So that has, performed very well for me, and, credits the government for policies that it has put in place to help him get ahead and be happy about where he is financially in life. But so far today, I have to say that's the exception, not the rule. 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Are Canadians getting ahead? Are they holding steady? Are they falling behind? Give us a sense of what you think is going on right now with Canadians, their standard of living. With a 3.2% inflation rate, Reza is in Calgary today. Reza. Hi, Reza.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Reza. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, how the Bank of Canada calculates these numbers, I don't think it's realistic. That's part of the problem. It doesn't really reflect what the actual inflation is. Like a price of ground beef, meat. And look at how much it went up, like almost 40%, 30%, depends where you shop. That is not 3%. If you are a renter, maybe rent went down. Property tax for homeowners is way above 3%. It's above 10%. And people who the value of their real estate goes up, or they bought a Bitcoin and went up, that's not federal government, it's just market. It might crash and it might go down. I think what is important is how much you make, the ratio of how much you make in a month, your paycheck, to your operating costs. That's how we should use it. When the value of my house is going up, I know my property tax is going up. I'm not getting richer. Maybe my kid's going to get richer. I don't know. Government's going to get more inheritance tax. I'm not flipping houses every month to kind of. I think the issue is that 3% is not really realistic. It's way more than that. I don't know how they calculate it.
You don't think so? When the inflation rate comes out, and even though it's elevated, it's 3.2%. That's not what the Bank of Canada really wants to see. 3.2% headline inflation. You think that's too low? You don't think that accurately reflects the real cost of living? It's too low. Okay.
I'm not an economist. I think they came with that index to use it to define what the interest rate should be, to make policies regarding interest rate. But I think it's way more than that based on what I see in grocery store everywhere. So anyhow, that's
interesting.
my
Thank you. Well, thank you, Reza. Yeah, thinks the inflation rate's not an accurate reflection of inflation. I think they're redoing the formula for how they calculate inflation. I think that'll be reflected in the next report. Let's go to Sid is up next, also in Calgary today. Hi, Sid.
Hey, Rob, can you hear me all right?
I hear you just great, Sid. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your opinion.
I think that even though inflation went up 3% year over year, I think it's more accurate to look over the last, maybe 7 years since Corona. And then the current geopolitical state of the world right now, the Strait of Hormuz closed, 20% of the world's oil is completely shut off. And I think we're in for some trouble right now if that strait doesn't open. I mean, if Canadians are feeling the brunt of inflation right now, give it another 4 weeks until the United States strategic oil reserve runs out. I mean, it's at the lowest levels it's been in the last 53 years. And when that runs out, I think, like I said, if Canadians are feeling tough times right now, if we don't get that Strait of Hormuz opened anytime soon with this nonsense war, it's going to get really, really bad.
Oh, you think things are going to get worse from here?
Yes, absolutely. I do think things are going to get worse. The geopolitical state of the world is not looking good right now. Like I said, the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve of the United States, is at all-time lows for the last 50 years, since the Reagan administration. When that runs out, and now the United States is out of its strategic oil reserves, I mean, and 20% of the world's oil is currently shut off.
Okay.
It's only a matter of time.
Just to circle back, given what we're hearing from the government, they're giving people money to help them buy groceries, they've cut the tax on gas, and this is to help people get ahead. What do you think about that?
I think it's a push in the right direction, but honestly, they can only do so much. And, if they're subsidizing 20%, but we're down 80%, I mean, we're still 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You know what I mean?
I see. You think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we're going to have to wrap things up. And a lot of this is beyond their control. Be right back after the news. Yeah, we've been talking about inflation and the cost of living with the inflation report out today. On the cost of living, 3.2% was the inflation reading today. Core inflation closer to 2.1%. And the government has been running ads on TV, on radio, on social media, touting the programs that it says are helping Canadians get ahead. It's been referencing things like the GST rebate, which has been rebranded, and the payouts have been increased rather substantially. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of dollars into the bank accounts of Canadians to help you get ahead. The suspension of the federal excise tax on fuel until Labor Day. The government says that saves you 10 cents a liter on the price of gasoline, again, to help you get ahead. Simple question. Are you getting ahead? 1-833-668-2577 as we go to Ron in Lethbridge today. Hello, Ron.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Hi, Ron. Yeah, very good, Ron. What would you say, Ron?
I think our country's a mess. So the government's running all these programs or advertising. Who's paying for all this stuff?
Well, you are, of course.
Exactly. The taxpayers are paying for the ads. They're paying for the money that they're handing out. They're taking it from Peter and paying Paul. And they seem like they're such nice guys when they take our money and just turn around and give it back to us. We keep working, keep paying taxes, and they just turn around and give it to us because they've taxed us to death and people can't get ahead. It just people just keep forgetting the government has no money. It's taxpayer money. It's our money. They're the managers.
Yes.
And they're not managing it very well.
But do you think it's targeting, it wants to target the assistance to, the people who need it? Do you think it's getting to the right places and the right people?
So when they say right places, what do they mean? People that earn an income under $200,000 or what?
Well, I suppose it's people who need the money. People who are having a hard time affording groceries or who are having a hard time because of the high gasoline prices.
That's everybody that I know that's having a hard time.
Everybody that you know. Okay.
I don't have too many friends like, the Laurentian elite have, like Carney and all his buddies and his realtor buddies and developer buddies in Vancouver that they're getting subsidized. I don't have too many friends like that. I think, I don't have. Most people that I know are just hardworking, ordinary Canadians that are trying to put food on the table, and they're taking our tax dollars and they just keep printing money, and you wonder why inflation's going up. We're spending over $1 billion a week just on interest on the debt, and that's going up. The more programs they pump out, which might benefit a few, it's going to just increase
you
that.
Think it's making it worse?
$2 billion a week on interest just on the debt.
Like the cure is worse than the disease almost.
And the government's the worst manager of money. Like, the media doesn't ask them. Mainstream media doesn't ask them, well, why do these people need this money? Well, because the government's spent so much money and pissed away so much money that it just keeps devaluing our dollar. Our dollar is getting worth nothing. We'll need a wheelbarrow to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, to tie a bow on this, you don't give the government any credit, or you don't think its claims have any validity that its programs are designed to help people get ahead. Thank you. I'm going to move along, though, to Okotoks. Chris is in Okotoks today. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Yeah, very good, Chris. What would you say? Are people getting ahead in this country?
Yeah, no, not a chance. I agree with the last caller and several other people. Yeah, so I'm 47 years old. I've worked hard my entire life. I've always made pretty decent money. I'm a pipe fitter. I make about $130 a year for the past 5-10 years. So up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I never thought of money. I've always just, bought what I want when I want, had a decent life. Now that's all I think about every day. Like, it's crazy. I make good money. I don't know how people that are like making, less than me are even surviving, because I'm barely surviving. I'm a single dad. I've only got one child, 1,500 square foot bungalow. But yeah, like the electricity bill, the property taxes, the friggin' grocery store. I have a Ford F-150 2010 that sits in my driveway and doesn't move because I can't afford to drive it. I've got dirt bikes in the garage that I can't afford to take to the woods. It's brutal. Like, this is ridiculous. We're in a really sorry state right now, if you ask me.
Okay. So what do you think the government could be doing that maybe it's not doing? I mean, it says it's giving families hundreds of dollars a month. It's got the fuel tax. It's got child care programs, dental care programs. It's got lots of programs.
Yeah. Well, okay. So my ex-wife, God bless her, I let her take all of that child benefit tax and stuff. I don't claim Tanner. I let her claim my son. I know she benefits a little bit from those programs, but like, I don't think I'm getting anything. Like, do I make too much money? I don't see anything happening. I don't feel like I'm receiving any free money, and even if I did, it's a drop in the bucket. Like, it's Canada. I love Canada. I love Alberta. I've been here for 20 years. I'm from Nova Scotia. I love this province. I don't mind Danielle Smith and what she's trying to do. I'm not the most informed person, but I just think that we're coming to a boiling point. Like, if I'm making over $100,000 a year and if I can barely survive, and God forbid I take a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in 10 years. So like, what are the people that are making half as much as me thinking? Like, I don't even know how they're feeding their kids. It's brutal. And these government assistance programs, I don't think I'm seeing anything like that. Like, I don't, if there is, then
Yeah. It is such a good point, because I really do think you're looking upon yourself as a rather blessed Canadian / Albertan, and you're wondering, how are people who aren't doing as well as I'm doing, how are they getting by? How are they getting ahead? Thank you for your call. Jason, hang on the line in Kitchener. Get to you and more of your calls as we make our way through Talkback today. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Are Canadians getting ahead? Government says it's put policies in place, the groceries and essentials benefit, the fuel tax cut, to help you get ahead. It's running ads to that effect. But are you getting ahead? Are Canadians getting ahead? Jason is in Kitchener. He's up next. Hello, Jason.
Hey, Rob. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Jason. Thank you. What would you say, Jason?
I would say, as George Costanza once said, it's not a lie if you believe it. And so, our government can tout everything they want, but I think if you actually go onto a street and you talk to people at the base level, they will tell you, no, absolutely not. We're not getting ahead. We're actually falling further behind. Now, having said that, I don't believe it's this government's fault in itself. You know, there are global issues at hand that have raised the cost of living, our food, our gasoline, the transportation, our energy. But for the government to come out and say, well, we're making life more affordable, it's just not true. You know, I unfortunately, you know, luckily I don't receive the GST or the grocery benefit. And to be honest with you, my family and I could probably use it as well, because we've had to cut back ourselves. And I have a full-time job and a part-time job working at my municipality, and my wife has a good job. But still, you know, her and I have talked about it a number of times. Like, we feel the pinch as well. Food has dramatically increased our cost of living, and we're not doing any major trips this summer because we can't afford the gas. And so, as the last caller had mentioned, you know, basically, I think we're at a boiling point. I'm not sure how we get out of this, but something has to happen. Otherwise, we're going to have more and more people at the food bank, more so than we already do.
Okay, thank you, Jason, for your call. I mean, the government would say we have a whole suite of programs designed to help people get ahead. Okay, groceries and essentials benefit, suspension of the gas tax, income tax cut, GST relief on the purchase of a new home, other stuff, child care programs, child care subsidies, dental care program, school food program, all programs that exist in order to help Canadians get ahead. Now, the Prime Minister, let's play this again. This was back in mid-April. He's getting a good grilling from the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, about inflation, about the cost of living. And he points out, well, hey, look at the numbers. Wages are growing faster than the rate of inflation, and that means people are getting ahead. This was the Prime Minister, 5 weeks ago.
Mr. Speaker, one thing I've learned in my economics education is you've got to study history and you've got to look at numbers. My record as a central bank governor is inflation less than 2% at the Bank of Canada, inflation less than 2% at the Bank of England. But let's get back to where we are today, which is wages in this country are growing at more than twice the rate of inflation, and I'll spell it out for the member opposite. That means Canadians are getting ahead.
That means Canadians are getting ahead. Big round of applause from the Liberals in attendance. There are those who certainly I think would be more inclined to subscribe to the view of Pierre Poilievre, who is standing in the House of Commons and basically saying things have never been worse, right? Last week, that's what he was doing last week on Thursday during the final question period of the session before the summer break. Everything was doomy gloomy in his world. Listen to this.
As the Prime Minister ends his third session, I ask you a question. Are your groceries, your gas, your mortgage payments more affordable than they were a year ago? Are your streets more safe, or are they more riddled with crime? Aside from his endless announcements, excuses, and promises, this Prime Minister has doubled the deficit, increased housing costs, home building is actually down, gas, groceries, and mortgage payments nearing record highs. So will the Prime Minister put aside the illusions and stand up in this House of Commons now and defend his disastrous results?
So, is Pierre Poilievre just a party pooper? The streets are riddled with crime. The economy's in a recession. Gas prices are up. Food prices are up. Housing costs are unaffordable. Mortgage rates are up. And this government's a disaster. And Canadians are not getting ahead. So what is it, folks? Is it the sunshine and lollipops world of the Liberals where Canadians are getting ahead because of the Liberals? Or is it the dour doldrums worldview of the Conservatives, a place where Canadians keep falling further and further behind? 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It's an interesting survey on this very thing, getting ahead, or Canadians getting ahead with an inflation rate of 3.2%. Angus Reid headlines its latest survey, Surging Ahead, Left Behind. Financially secure Canadians gain in bull market while others fall further behind. Surging ahead, left behind. Quote, as Canadians continue to navigate a high cost of living, most say they are keeping their heads above water financially. But for those who are struggling, pessimism about the future is deepening. 7 in 10 Canadians describe their current household finances as good or very good. 1/4 say they are in poor financial shape or worse. And among the latter group, few see relief ahead. Those with poor finances are 3 times as likely to say they will be worse off a year from now rather than better off. And 2/3 of those in very poor financial circumstances expect further declines. End quote. So if things are going good, they're going good. If things are going bad, people think they're only going to get worse. Keith is up next on Talkback. Hi, Keith. In Turner Valley.
Yes. Good afternoon, Robin. Thank you for receiving my call.
You're welcome. Thank you for your call. What would you say? Do you think people are getting ahead?
Well, I don't think they are. But first of all, I wonder if I could bring to the listening public's attention a book that was recently published under the caption of Democracy's Second Act. The authors of this book, Peter McLeod and Richard Johnson, have done a wonderful job of bringing to our attention some of the problems that exist in democracy. And one of the problems is that they believe that democracy has reached the end of an era, and that Canadian citizens must take back their power. We're in a state of affairs at the moment where debt, inflation, poverty, all these negative things need the Canadian people to come to the rescue of what's going on in our country today. And so those are just a few comments.
And if I could, then what would be the consequences if Canadians don't, say, try to defend democracy? What could be the consequences of that?
Well, it's happening right now where our government is using, $100 handouts as a coy way of bringing about public complacency and without providing any satisfactory solution. So if we can get beyond the way in which the people are being treated by the government with these handouts and using our money to support their political aspirations, it will be a step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you very much. Someone earlier in the program mentioned the K-shaped economy, and this is what comes through in this Angus Reid survey. It says the data points to a widening divide between Canadians who've been able to benefit from rising investment values, like the stock market at record levels, and those left exposed to day-to-day affordability pressures, like a 3.2% inflation rate. Well, nearly all of those who say they are in very good financial shape hold some form of investments. More than half of those in very poor circumstances do not. Overall, according to the survey, 6 out of 10 Canadians say the number one issue, the top issue, the most important issue in Canada right now is the cost of living. You have people who own assets, who have homes, who have investment accounts. They say they're doing okay. And then there are the others, low-income household, don't own homes, don't have investment accounts, experiencing a very different Canada right now. Thank you for all of your calls today. Brand new topic tomorrow and more of your calls. And until then, the latest breaking news on News Radio.